What is going on, everybody? Welcome into another ZBrush stream. My name is Ian Robinson, and I am a ZBrush instructor, and I teach ZBrush every day for the most part, and I love it, so it's good. So hopefully everybody's doing really well. We got some music playing in the background, and we're going to do something kind of fun today. I was thinking about making a Christmas ornament, but we're going to do something kind of cool. So hopefully you guys like that. Before we get too started today, I wanted to point out, and I'm going to be sharing this link throughout the stream, but I wanted to point out a brand new series, Getting Started series with ZBrush that we have now, with a special thanks to Anna Carolina, because Anna Carolina, she's also a ZBrush Live instructor here, as well as she does a lot of other stuff on ZBrush Live. So she's an amazing, talented, hardworking instructor, artist, super awesome. So she's going to be running you through. We partnered with her, and she ran through a 27-part series. But everything you need to know about ZBrush is here, which is really, really awesome. So I'm going to be calling this out from time to time. So if you guys are interested in getting started, this is a good way to go about it. I'm going to go ahead and just minimize this at the moment. But yeah, let's go ahead. And today, like I said, we're going to be making an ornament. Hopefully there's time to finish it. There's my pen. Here we go. Here we go. And let's get into it. And of course, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask your questions about ZBrush, and I'll answer them as best as I can. So let's do it. All right. So we're just going to go ahead and get started. And what's going to be really fun is I'm just going to reset my brushes. I was playing with some different brushes. I thought we would do something kind of cool, and I'm sure you guys will be able to guess it when it happens soon enough. Before we do that, hold on. I want to do one more thing here. Just kind of announce that I'm live at the moment, because that's always fun. I never call them shameless. I really want people to show up. All right. And I got the chat right there. Perfect. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm just going to start carving into this thing with a clay buildup. Create some nice little sockets here. And then I'm also going to use the move brush, and I'm going to come through here and start making space for a mouth. I go too crazy. Go, something like that. Let's actually move the eyes up a little bit. Let's keep this head. We're gonna keep his head pretty round because he's not a like huge like human character. Just gonna smooth this down a little bit. What's up, Ryan? How you doing? Okay. Okay, now we're just gonna go ahead and start carving in this mouth area. And we're using Dynamesh. How's it going, buddy? All right, this is looking terrible. I love it. That's how we start off with everything. It looks bad, and then we get it looking good. What's up, Sammy? How you doing? Oh, yes. Yes, cranking that workout. 100%. Okay. So, all right, that's it. The stream's done. That would be crazy, right? It's like, oh my God, who hired this guy? All right, now we're gonna do. I want to see about how I actually want to do this, because I'm thinking about using a cylinder. Actually, this will be clear as soon as I do this next part. We're gonna go geometry, edge loop, and delete edge loops, because that deletes all of the non-supporting edge loops, all the unnecessary ones. Sad ball is sad. Sad ball is sad. 100%. All right, let's go ahead and actually kind of shrink this down a little bit. Just kind of scaling this down. Let's go a little bit longer with it. I'm on solo mode, so let's actually change that. Let's create the, actually, before we do that, we'll resize it to what we want. Something like such. Okay. And now I'm going to add back those supporting loops. Now the reason, or the non-supporting loops, the reason why I deleted them is because you would have, to scale it down. I wanted a certain scale, and it's easier to just do one and then put back the things that you don't necessarily need at the time. So if I were to scale all this down, I would have had to scale each one, and just, this was easier to get this shape. And now I'm going to go ahead here, and we're going to go to twist, I think. Yes, there we go. So we're going to twist this and get a shape like this. And that's because we are essentially making a carrot. So let's go ahead and accept that. And I'm going to see if I could twist it one more time. Yeah, let's do that. Just a little bit more, say accept. Perfect. So now when I go ahead and say smooth this down, I'll be able to actually kind of create some nice little ridges and stuff. Right now this will work. Let's put this over here, rotate this around, say about 90 degrees, and kind of put this in place. Let's just shove that in his face. Beautiful. All right. Now let's go ahead, and we're just blocking stuff out. So let's go ahead and rename this carrot. Now I have a basic sphere here. I'm going to duplicate that because the first name is going to change, and we'll call this head. And then let's go ahead and save this out. And yeah, let's just call this our snowman. Well, I guess I just said it. Ornament. Ornament. All right. Cool. This will work for now. And now let's actually go ahead and let's bring in a new cylinder. Same thing. I'm going to go ahead to geometry, edge loop, and then I'm going to go to delete loops. And let's bring this here and scale this down because we're going to want a scarf for our guy. And an easy way to create a scarf, especially if you're going to just 3D print it, is to kind of just do this in sections. So I'll actually Control-Shift-D, duplicate this, kind of bring this up, maybe offset this a little bit. Even maybe angle that a little bit more. Let's do this at the top here. I can angle this down just a little bit, reset this, and then bring it down, which will kind of give me like a little tucked in effect. And I can even kind of pull this out slightly, giving it a little bit of asymmetry to it. Right now we're just blocking out the character, so this will work out just fine. And let's actually go ahead and select just these two, bring them down. Let's reshape our head to what we want it to be. Hello, hello. I primarily only read English. However, that being said, I try to Google Translate stuff, just so that I actually have an idea of what everyone is saying. So I'm going to go ahead and just go to Google Translate. I know it's not the most accurate, but at least it helps. And then let's go here. You're Brazilian. Welcome in, welcome in. Awesome. Glad to have you here. Let's actually come through here. Let's actually resize it just a little bit. Back. There we go. Hello, hello. Welcome in, welcome in. We're making a holiday ornament. Now we're going to give him some exaggeration because he's not going to be super happy. Let's just say that. Scale that back down just a bit. I mean, he's going to be happy, but maybe not in the way you'd want him to be. There we go. Let's get some clay built up here. I'm going to rebuild that structure. Frosty! Kind of. With a twist. Some kind of fun eyebrows. We're working pretty low res right now. All right, let's actually up that resolution just because it's getting a little soft. So let's actually go to Geometry, Dynamesh, and let's kick it up a little bit to 128. I usually work in increments of 64 or double. So let's do that. There we go. When you're like trying to sculpt something, your resolution starts breaking really bad, even on the most basic stuff. I find that's when it's helpful to come in and set stuff up and just up that resolution. My plan too, if anyone's interested, if it starts looking like it's something you want, my plan too is to throw this in my Discord. And for anyone else who wants to have it, we'll be populating it on one of our newsletters as well. So maybe I'll just create a link. Maybe I'll just create a link for it. Let's just create a link. Okay. His nose is actually, I want to make sure he has a decent amount. He has a good lip on him. So let's actually come through here. Let's put this way. And then let's actually do ourselves a solid. I'm going to actually put this blue indicator in this direction. Come through here, do bend curve. This way I actually have the ability to kind of arch his nose a little bit. So I'm going to create a couple different bends and give it just a little bit of a tweak. I'm going to keep it relatively symmetrical though. So we'll give it just a little bit of that asymmetrical feel. So if I hit D for dynamic, we can actually see that that's going well. Now the reason why I curved the geometry and kind of twisted it was that I'm actually going to want to create some details that might flow in that direction. So that's going to help me out just a little bit with that. Now we can already start to see our character, which is always fun. So let's go ahead and give him a top hat before we start moving into anything. And I'm going to put this in a folder and call this a scarf. Yeah. Bend curves, yep. Tools I haven't used before. Yeah, bend curve is super amazing. It's one of my favorite ways to do hair, to get some really fun shapes quickly. And it works well with low res mesh. So very, very useful. And here's what's cool about bend curve. I'll show you one other thing. This is how I use it for hair. Let's say this was a hair strand and I wanted to utilize this mesh again. In fact, let's do one better. Instead of using this as the example, I'm going to come through here and actually use our, where is it? Blah, 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 blah. Let's go curve. Our alpha curve. Let's say I wanted to give him hair, so I'm going to draw this out, right? So actually, before we do that, yeah, let's create a new mesh real fast. Just create a sphere here. Just shrink this down so we have something else. So let's say I drug this shape out, or even better, what I would do personally is I'd go to stroke, I would go to curve, and then say, that's lazy, curve as line. I would draw this out, which will give me a relatively straight line. And then from here, I would actually isolate this and delete hidden. And then this is how another way I would use it. So I would go modify topology, delete hidden, and then recenter this in a way that I'm going to be able to use it to my benefit. So again, I'm just going to go ahead and set this up something like that. And now if I use bend curve here, right, so I have this function, and I'm going to go ahead and isolate this. I'm making this this move. So I want this to come down this way. And now I want to duplicate this. All I have to do is come on over. So I use Command or Control-Shift-D a lot to duplicate an object. But if you just hit duplicate, notice that the gizmo is still orange. So if I just move this over to the side and reposition it, now that secondary subtool is storing that same information. So then I can hit W again, and now I can reshape this one to be a little bit different. Position that how I want, and then again, Control-Shift-D, I can duplicate that. I can move this around. Maybe push it in his head just a little bit more. Then hit W again and start giving a little bit more detail. So this is the way I love to use bend curve, especially if I'm working on hair and I'm having one strand at a time. So super useful, and yeah, I love it. It's one of my favorite. What we got? Let's see. Let's do... Oh, it's like, hair is quite the struggle. Absolutely. Fur as well. Yeah, anything. So if you can use bend curve to go ahead and get that main shape that you want, especially with repeatable meshes like hair, then definitely highly recommended. And then you just accept that when you're done. But as long as you don't accept it, again, I can always come back, hit that gizmo, and I can see that there. And then that option is always available, which is so cool. So bend curve and all the fun little secrets. Let's go ahead and we don't need those meshes. Getting creepy clown vibes. Yep. All right, so we have our main scarf. Let's go ahead and make a top hat because no snowman, you know, no snowman can do without a top hat. We need a top hat for our guy. So again, geometry, edge loop, delete loops. I'm going to go ahead and scale this down. Now, I guess the real question is, do we go super funny with it or do we keep it relatively... I think we should go a little ridiculous. So let's put that on his head, get that kind of based where we can see it. And now let's use our Z modeler. So B, Z, and then M. We'll bring up our Z modeler brush. And what I like to do at the beginning is I like to go to polygroups, and I like to go to group by normals. So this way I don't have to select each one and then make that its own group. That automatically does that for me. Let me see here real quick. Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm using Google Translate for this. Realized that he was doing a snowman. Yes, yeah, absolutely doing a snowman. Yes. And again, I want to give this ornament out for anyone who would like it. So if you guys are interested in having an ornament, free, of course, I just want to drop it for you guys. Go ahead and let me know, and then I'll make sure that I share a link. If you just follow me, my IRSculpts, that works. So I'm going to go ahead and inset this now. Whee! Something like that to give me an edge loop that I want. Cool. Now I'm going to come on up. We're going to go Q mesh. I'll actually get with... Go. Can the pivot points in a ray mesh be changed? So the pivot point will be locked to your gizmo. So if we were to like use a ray mesh for this, for example, great question by the way. So ray mesh here, you have a couple things. You have your transpose line, so everything's kind of going to be tied to your transpose, and then you can lock your position, and then you can lock your size. So so if you wanted to change the pivot point, you can, at least the way I've been doing it, is you can just kind of unlock things. So let's see. So I'm actually going to go ahead and let's repeat this a few times. And let's actually do, is it a Y that I want to do it on? No. Go ahead and just do a 360. I like to do that a lot. Let's send this home. Hold on one second. Not scale. Let's rotate. I had the wrong axis. Let's rotate this. Oh, I have lock size and lock pivot. Okay, hold on. Let me restart this. Let me restart. I lost my own train of thought. Welcome to my world. Okay, so let's go here. I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate this, send this back home. And now I want to do array mesh. So I'm going to turn array mesh on, Gizmo, and then I'm going to go ahead and lock my position. And then I want to rotate. So I'm going to go ahead and rotate this on the y-axis 360. And then, hold on, because I lose myself every single day. There we go. Pivot, let's do 25 because we're just being ridiculous for now. And then from here, you are scaling this out. Now, if I understand the question correctly, you'd like to change the pivot point on the actual object itself. So you still can just hold Alt and unlock your gizmo, and that does not affect the array mesh whatsoever. So if I wanted to pivot from up here, then I could by changing that pivot point. I can hold Alt and position it all the way out here and change that pivot point from here. So if I understand the question correctly, yes, just by moving the gizmo itself, you will essentially be changing your pivot point. So I could set my pivot point directly in the middle. So if I come about here, now I'm pivoting from this point in this area. So in short, yes, you can. It's just positioning your gizmo where you want, and that's unlocking that pivot. And then moving that around, and then relocking it, and that will change that point. Hopefully that answers your question. Real quick, just to cover this one, Ian, when will ZBrush with Redshift be available? We haven't made a solid announcement yet, as far as I'm aware of, but stay tuned, because as soon as we do, we'll let you know. I don't think it's too far down the pipe, but we'll be making an announcement soon enough. Hello, Duder. Hey, what's up, Kairos? How you doing? Did you play, or watch Friday Night Funkin'? I think I've been asked this question before. No, I have not. Nope, no, have not. In anyway, I mean, I've seen the game. I know of the game. I know what it is. But no, myself personally, I have not really watched or played with it. Okay, let's go back to our hat here. Now I'm going to want a nice little bend to my hat. So I'm actually going to bring this up about halfway, and then I'm going to scale this down. And then I'm going to hold Control and drag out a new edge loop. So if you're familiar with our Control repeat, that works with edge loops as well. And then I'm going to go ahead and scale this out this way. So now if I hit this, we get this, which looks really, really weird. So now we need to kind of support the hat the rest of the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mask off this bottom section and invert that. And then I'm going to bring this up just because it's a little low. And now I'm going to, just with basic edge loops, I'm going to come in with a single edge loop. And now for me, I'm going to start supporting the edge loops where I don't want there to be a whole lot of deformation. I want some pretty straight lines. Here, I'm actually going to round out this part of the hat. So before we just start making edge loops, I'm going to hover over this edge, multiple edge loops with interactive elevation. I'm going to drag this out and add a couple edge loops, which will give me more of a rounded edge. And then we'll come back to just a single edge loop, and we'll add in a couple edge loops at the top. I like to also add a few down here at the bottom, even if there's nothing ever going to be there. It's just I don't like this point getting so stretched. So that gives me a little bit extra. And now I have this guy. Hey, happy to see you too, Icy Film. Yeah, absolutely, Michael. You're so welcome. Hello, Sparky Face. What's happening? Also, Sparky, hopefully you got my message that I sent you in the Discord about the Maxon app. Okay. Now I'm actually going to go ahead and break this one right here, and then that, again, not break, I cut it. I hit Alt and I just deleted that edge loop. The reason for that is because I'm going to go back with interactive elevation, and I'm going to give it a little bit of my own custom beveling. You got it? Thanks. Okay, great. And then I'm going to go ahead and now I'm just going to add in some extra edge loops here. Might as well add that here. Ian, please click the line. There you go, Ian. Good job. You can do it. And then let's actually position this a little bit more in center. Now let's go ahead and take a look. If I hit D, that's going to give me this kind of top hat vibe, which is super cool. I'm digging it. And now I want to be able to give it just a little bit of a bend. It's too straight at this moment in time. So you can do that a couple ways. You could just turn on, honestly, you can just turn on symmetry, and then you can mask off a section, kind of soften that edge a little bit if you wanted to. This is pretty low res. And then you can just kind of bend that down if you wanted to do it that way. But actually what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to hold, and I'm going to go with Move Infinite. And then I'm just, with symmetry turned on, I'm just going to kind of pull it down and give it my own custom bend. Move Infinite allows me to kind of just move the mesh from one side, and it'll infinitely on the Z-axis, or whatever axis I'm on, it will actually move all of that in conjunction. So if I move down here, it's going to do that all the way through the mesh, not just where the mesh meets the points of the vertices. So I can actually come through here and add my own little bit of custom bend. Maybe flare that up a little bit. And that's just giving me just a little bit extra control. Can you get a hat like that? Yeah, you can get a hat like that. Just rewatch the stream and remake, and you can get a hat like it too. You can also, like I said, I actually want to give this away to everyone here, just as a thank you, you know. So I'll get with my guy to put out a code so that you guys can just download it or something like that. I think it'll be really fun. Little ornament thingy. There we go. So we're already starting to see now this. Now what I want to do real quick is I actually want to kind of make a few adjustments here. Still blocking out. So if you're coming in and you're brand new, welcome, welcome. Go. Okay. Yes, that might work out. I'm actually just going to crush it just a little bit. What I love about designing on the fly is that you just kind of never know what you're going to get. So you just kind of see what works for you and then adjust and pivot. All right. Now let's focus on the face a little bit. So I'm actually going to go ahead and select the face and solo this out. Here we go. And we need to add some teeth and such. Hey, Witch Cat Crochet, welcome in, welcome in. The link you posted Discord in the video from 2 weeks ago. Oh, whoop, whoop, whoop. Here, 1 second. Real quick, fast and in a hurry. Okay, go ahead and just... Sure, okay. All right, I'm just gonna go ahead and drop that in there. That's more likely where I will be placing it. Also too, I wanted to, before we go any further, I did it at the very beginning of the stream, but I just wanted to call it out one more time. There's a link that is being populated by Nightbot right now, but I will share it here. And that is, we do have a brand new getting started with ZBrush video. Thank you to Anna Carolina. She would actually came on and helped us over at Maxon to get this series started. So she worked closely with myself in order to get out the type of videos that we wanted to get you started. There's 27. They're relatively short. I think the longest one is like 7 minutes, but it covers everything you need to know with getting started in ZBrush. And I want to share that link with you guys now. So that way you guys, if you're looking for something, this is brand new, just released today. I've been waiting to say something for a long time because this was a long project that we wanted to make sure we do right. So definitely check it out too. Besides coming here and talking to me, this is also very helpful as well. All right. Can't look at holiday sculpting the same after the certain someone decided to be Krampus. Yeah, yeah. You know, I totally understand. Yes, yes. Let's see. Do. Okay, cool. All right. So let's start making some teeth. I like to make teeth. Teeth are fun. Teeth are simple. Teeth are amazing, and you can do it from a sphere. So why not? So we're gonna make some creepy, fun little teeth, and we're gonna make them kind of look like they're out of ice. So I'm actually going to not clip curve. That's crazy talk. I'm gonna do knife, and we're just gonna go ahead and kind of clip this a little bit with our knife brush. It's Dynamesh, so I'm gonna rebuild this. So we're gonna go to geometry and just activate Dynamesh. It's the way I like to work. Boop. Let's turn that bad boy on, and let's actually give it all the same poly group. And now, same thing, you could use bend curve, but I'm just gonna use the move infinite to kind of get something that I think is gonna work. Because they're icicles, what I'm gonna do is kind of give it a bit of a taper, unlike traditional teeth. This up the front side like such, and rebuild that surface. There we go. I don't want it to be super straight. I want some roundness to it. Okay, now what's going to be really, really fun actually is we're going to widen that just a bit. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to take our H polish brush, and I'm going to actually up the resolution just a little bit. And now with asymmetry, all I'm going to do is just kind of start polishing certain areas that I think would look kind of cool, that would give us a little bit of an icy shape. I'm going with a big brush first, and then we'll modify it as we see fit. You can also do this with the trim dynamic if you choose. Like such. And you can see I'm not really caring where I'm placing stuff. I'm just kind of placing it where I think it makes sense. If you would like specific stylized characters, like you're really trying to go with like Disney-esque stylized characters, then I would actually recommend looking up Shane Olson, because he specializes in that with his 3D character workshop. He streams every Monday on this channel, so huge shout out to him. But he actually is one that would help you. He's also one of my teachers. He's the one who taught me a lot with the industry, so super shout out to him. So yeah, I would check out Shane Olson. In fact, there's also Leticia Gillette, if I said that right. She was actually at the summit, and she does stylized characters as well. But what I would say is, let me just link you to one of Shane's streams. Log in real quick here, and then he actually was doing this one yesterday. Or no, I'm sorry, on Monday. Today's Wednesday. I can't even think. But there was that. So I definitely check that out if you're looking for stylized characters. And then he has a course 3D character workshop. So huge shout out to him. I have Google Translate trying to make sure. Cool. Yeah, we watch. Yep, super helpful. Absolutely. And when I make Boolean mesh, one of the cylinder objects collapses at a single point. Is this because it's not closed object and has a hole? I'd have to see that, Gurn. I could try to replicate that for you to see what's happening. But typically, I don't know. Yeah, let me see. Let me see if I have a cylinder here. I'm just going to insert a cylinder just to kind of figure this out. In fact, actually, instead of doing that, let me save this real fast. Then I'm just going to go to Simple Brush. I'm going to switch, close this out. Let's just bring in a cylinder here. Drag this out. Make Polymesh 3D. So here I'm going to duplicate that. Let's turn Solo off for the second. Cut this down. So I have no hole here. And let's say I want to create a donut shape. That's off-center, like that. So coming through here like this. Make Boolean right such. Let's see, and then let's come down to to Boolean, and then make Boolean mesh. Let me see what's happening. Okay, that gives me that. So let me make sure I read the question right. If a cylinder collapses at a single point. So are you talking about like these points here? If you have a hole, I would recommend not having a hole in your mesh because that's giving ZBrush less information. So it is possible that a hole in your mesh could actually cause you to have some issues. So if you already recognize that you have a hole, I would say fix that first to kind of help with that. Let me see if I can replicate that for you. So if I take this, let's do this. Let's go solo mode for a second. Let's actually create a hole to see what that does, just because I'm curious now. I'm going to come through there. I'm actually going to go ahead and delete hidden. So I'm going to go geometry, modify topology, deleting hidden. Now I have a hole. What is happening here? Okay, and if I come through here and I say make Boolean mesh. Yeah, okay, so having a hole, yeah, you're going to get some collapsing edges happening there because ZBrush is trying to detect the edge loop and is trying to figure out exactly where that ends and what begins. So that could be causing an issue. I don't have a clean as a cut here as I would or as I do at the top because now it's trying to stitch. So if we take a look at this area right in here, notice how you have stitching that's along the top and along the inside of it. Where if we take a look at this part, notice right here, oh my gosh, I can't even draw today. Notice, boop, 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 boop. Okay, notice right here. I'm going to do some finger gymnastics. Okay, here we go. Hold on. Let's come through here. Notice right here. Yes, here we go. Finger gymnastics. No, I'm hitting 4 buttons at once. Notice on the bottom here, up to the green, that there's no stitching that's actually happening. So ZBrush is trying to anticipate where that hole is and what should be fixed. So I would definitely say that that could be causing a massive issue. So definitely try there. Your object is not a cutter, it's set to additive. It still might be doing the same thing because it's still trying to figure that out. If we go to adding, you said it's set to additive, and let's make Boolean mesh there. Come here. No, that actually did pretty well. That actually welded that fine because it's just deleting the internal. Yeah, deleted the internal fairly well. If you're adding it, merging it this way, what happens when we intersect? Now I'm just curious. So if we intersect, so yeah, see here, if we intersect, yeah, we're still getting some collapsed edges. It's just not computing correctly. So you could be running into an issue. I would say just close your holes and retry it, and that might cause a little bit of, that might fix it. Yeah, no problem. Perfect. Yeah, Letty is absolutely great at ZBrush series over at Noman's YouTube channel. 100%, yeah. So those would be the two for specific stylized characters. Yeah, Leticia and Shane. Top notch. 100%. All right. All right, now we have our little, so we have our icicle here, and okay, let's actually up the resolution before we do the next thing that I want to do. So I'm going to go to Dynamesh, and my resolution, yeah, it's 200. Let's kick it up to 350. And what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to hit polish. And now I'm going to take, again, that H polish. I'm actually going to give it a sharper focal length. Okay. And we're going to come through and give us some decent resolution. Up that size just a bit. Just kind of making a crystal at this point. Crystals are always fun. Something like this. This should work out fine. It's going to be a lot smaller because they're going to be teeth, so we don't have to get super, super crazy, but I want to make sure that there's enough resolution here that makes sense. You can also take trim dynamic and kind of cut along an edge that I then want to H polish and get a little bit of that blending there. Now with that polish right there, I'm actually going to go ahead and turn blur off and sharpen that up a little bit. And then I'm going to refine this just a little bit more. And this is going to help me get that kind of effect that it's ice. And then there's going to be one more step that I do, which I really like because it breaks the geometry. And breaking the geometry is always fun. Now that I have something that I like here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to masking. And I'm going to... Let's... I did this the other day. Was it masking? Hold on one second. Hey, AQ, what's happening? What you making today? Hey, check this out. This is what I'm currently making. And we're working on the tooth right now. Just wanted to make sure I don't go too far without reading the chat. Was having troubles with other artist name. Thank you. AQ was also an amazing stylized artist as well. She also loves to break the mesh like I like to break the mesh, but she breaks it more than I break it. Anyway, okay, so blah, 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 blah. Just make sure I don't. Yes. Yeah. This is going to be an ornament, and I want to give it away to everyone. Okay. Now I'm going to go to masking, and then I'm going to... I lost my train of thought. And that always happens to me. So, you know. So is it mask by cavity? What do I want to do? I believe it was mask by cavity, yes. No, that's not right. Oh, I didn't want to mask. Oh, I'm an idiot. Hold on. Don't mind me. Don't mind me. Clay polish, that's what I wanted to do. Don't mind me, guys. I want to clay polish, and I want to sharpen this up a little bit. So we're going to actually push the sharpen up to 25% and clay polish. Why did I think it was masking? Because I'm that guy. But also, when you clay polish, it does mask for you, which is super fun. But check this out. So when you have this here, and you're looking at all this nice little sharp edges that we got, when you hit clay polish, it really sharpens that up. But then also, too, this is really fun. So you soften this a little bit, and you paint this with white. So I'm going to fill object. Then I'm going to invert this mask, and then you can paint this with the blue of your choice slowly. So turn on RGB and drag this down just a little bit, and then hit color, and then fill this a little bit. And then you can get kind of like a little bit of a nice gradient. And then I like to invert this again, go back to white, and then I like to fill this in more, soften it just a little bit, and then fill it in a little bit more. And it gives me this nice little icicle shape, which is super fun and really easy. So clay polish, yeah. All right, now that we got that down, let's bring this over here. We have our main one, and I don't actually want to kind of destroy this. So I'm going to call this my Ice Tooth OG. And what I do with these is I usually drop it down all the way at the bottom. I duplicate that, and then I hide the one. And then I go Ice Teeth. And I'm going to bring this back up, just below the head. And now that I have this here the way it is right now, I'm actually going to store this history. And then I'm going to, let's get this low res. And then we can populate a bunch because this is pretty high. If I start duplicating this, I'm going to go from like 400,000 to a lot. So let's actually look at this down from above, and let's split this off. So I'm going to use the slice curve. Nope, lied to you. Let's cut different polygroups just like such. And then I'm going to, from here, we're just going to go to geometry, Zremesher, and we're going to just keep polygroups, drop that down to 0, and let's Zremesh at like 10,000. Yeah, right? You can model a crystal that way? Absolutely. That's how I do it. Now you want to do a Fortress of Solitude. Oh, you so should do a Fortress of Solitude. Yes. Do it. Do it. You can do it. Okay, I'm going to Zremesh that down a little bit. I'm going to multiply this a couple times so we have like, now it's like far less than that. And then let's go to Subtool, and then let's go to Project History with Color. Bam. Now we have a low res and a high res, which is perfect. So there you go. There we go. And this is going to be kind of small anyway, right? So what I can do is, if I want to keep this low res, I could just delete my higher, and then I have this for now. And I always have the original to fall back on. So this will actually help me populate stuff pretty quickly. And now we're going to go ahead and scale this down, and then we're going to make his grin with this. And you can see this tooth is already really small, so there was like absolutely no need whatsoever to go super high resolution with that. So cool. May I ask the process of bringing the object that was made in ZBrush into Maya, please? The number of polygons from ZBrush is way too much, so is there a way to bring it into Maya? Yeah, there is absolutely a way to bring it into Maya. The best way to bring anything into another program outside of ZBrush is either, if there's GoZ that is supported, you could do that. The other thing is to have a... What you would want to do is actually, if you're going for low... Well, okay. There's a few ways you can go about doing this. If you want to go straight into Maya and just render it, then you can decimate that down, and then you can render within Maya if that's the choice you'd like to go. If you're going for a game res, if you're going for a game mesh or anything that's going to be animated, then the process is actually to export out the low resolution mesh that has all your UVs and stuff like that, and then you bring out a high res, and then you're going to bake your high res to your low res. So depending on what your results are, for me, if I were to move this straight into Maya just to have the model into Maya, and I'm not really worried about topology, then I would actually go up to Z plugin, and then I would go to Dynamesh Master, and I would Dynamesh it down to something very low that it can handle, and then I would populate it in via exporting out as an FBX. And you can, the FBX I recommend because it's kind of like the PDF of the 3D world where it's universal. Most programs accept it. OBJs are good. That's another common way to do it. I find the FBX has a little bit less trouble when I utilize it versus OBJ, because OBJ will usually give you material along with the OBJ, and if those two things don't correspond, then you could lose something somewhere, where the FBX stores everything that you need, so when it brings it in, it has all that information and it knows where it should go. So an FBX, in my opinion, is one of the better ways to go about doing it, and then you would just import that into Maya. I believe GoZ supports Maya. I don't use it. But yeah. So and then again too, so FBX export or decimation, then FBX, and then of course following the gaming or VFX pipeline, where you're actually having a high res and a low res, and you're baking all your maps and such. Which you can do. You can, if you create all your maps in ZBrush, you do have your come on, you can say it, Ian. I can. Multi-map exporter. And here you can actually export all of the maps that you've generated, displacement vector, normal, your albedo map, or your texture map as we call it in ZBrush. And then you can actually export all of this out and then bring that in with your FBX into Maya, to Blender, to whatever program you're trying to get it into. So yes, that's how I would go about doing it. Did that make sense? Hopefully that made sense. I'm gonna scale this up. Now we're just gonna do that control drag copy. And I'm also going to kind of rotate this around a little bit. And we're just gonna start creating some teeth. Now, because I have this here, I'm actually gonna go underneath this way. Get this looking the way I would like it to be. We're gonna give him one heck of a smile, guys. One heck of a smile indeed. Here's that pivot point. So I'm actually gonna go ahead and do a transpose and make sure that it's actually at the edge by just rotating that. And then from here, I'm gonna go ahead and mirror and weld this. But before I do, I'm gonna make sure that it's actually just off-centered so that it doesn't actually merge those teeth together or weld them together. Modify topology, mirror and weld. Turn on symmetry with X. And now we can bring this back. And just like that, he has some teeth, which... yeah, those are looking pretty cool. Now I'm just going to go ahead and Control-Shift-D, duplicate this completely. So now I have another set of teeth. I'm actually going to rotate this around. Dropping this down, and then I'm going to go ahead and actually offset this a little bit. Scale it down again. Now from here, I'm actually going to just delete this half. Control-Shift-A is going to bring back that other one. So let me cover that real quick too. You're very, very welcome. So if I wanted to select, if I have multiple meshes like this here in my viewport as one subtool, and I only want to get rid of this half here, I don't have to come through, select this, and start grabbing all of these. That's effective, but that takes time. So instead, I'm going to Control-Shift, right? And I'm going to, by pressing Alt, negatively delete all of that stuff. Now, I've hidden this part of this tooth. So Control-Shift-A brings the rest of that tooth back because it's visible to this viewport. And so then I can have this separated. So from here, I now can go ahead and just delete hidden. So geometry, modify topology, delete hidden. And now I can just mess with these teeth here. So recenter that. Well, hey, all right, cool. That's awesome. I'm glad I could help. And now I'm going to go ahead and start positioning these teeth as I want, but this head is in the way. So let's go to V2 and let's turn on only the things that we need. And I don't need this. I just want to see these teeth here. You always forget the Control-Shift-A. You know what? I learned it like 3 years ago, 2-3 years ago, and then I never used it. And then I saw somebody else use it like last year, and I was like, oh my god, yeah, that is a thing. I totally forgot about that. And then I really brought it into my pipeline. So I do feel you. Okay, let's go ahead and pivot this like such. And now with the gizmo here, I'm gonna go ahead and start selecting these individual teeth and just moving them into place. I am trying to kind of weld this smile together because I want to 3D print this, obviously. I want to prep it as an ornament and make it so that we can print it. So I'm going to be kind of welding these together. So maybe we'll give some asymmetry to it. Give this up a little bit. There we go. And this is where the gizmo comes in because it just masks off the thing that we select. So I'm going to scale this down just a bit. Same here. Kind of position this more in the middle. Yep, save for me, thank you. Now, just to avoid complications, I'm actually going to go ahead and just hide the rest of these teeth. And I'm going to split hidden. I'm going to come through down here on this guy, and then I'm going to mirror and weld it. So geometry, mirror and weld, right? And now if I come back to V1, we can see how that smile's interacting. That's looking pretty wicked. That's cool. What is the name of the Control-Shift-A? That's a great question. Still, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the actual. I want to say mesh grow, because the other side is you can actually grow with Control Shift. So look at this. So if we look at this map, you can actually Control Shift X grow, or is S to shrink, because Control Shift X grows out that mesh, and then Control Shift S shrinks that mesh. Control Shift A restores that mesh. I believe Control Shift. No. The Control Shift D? No. Control Shift C? No. Okay, that's it then. Control Shift W? No. No. Okay, no, that's it. That's it. So I can shrink it, I can grow it with Control Shift S or Control Shift X to grow or shrink, or A to restore the rest of the hidden mesh. Yes. Yeah, I don't know what the technical name is. I failed you, and I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. Okay, now we're going to make some coal. Some mighty good coal. Mesh grow all. There you go. Sweet. Yeah. That's what I meant to say. Stello, you're amazing. Alright. Okay, let's go ahead and... S equals shrink, X equals expand. Yeah. Okay, let's solo this here. Now that we have the teeth in the back, let's actually bring the smile back in a little bit. Because we want to make sure that this will be all weldable. I'll clean this up for actual printing purposes, but for right now, just bring that back just a little bit. Now let's give him a good smile. So let's go ahead and start enabling that laugh line here a little bit. So I'm going to take the damn standard, and I'm just going to come through here and kind of call out his smile line. Like such. And then come down, kind of bring that. And then for his lip, let's actually come in here. And now let's turn on our auto masking and our back face mask to give him a little bit more of a grotesque kind of look. It's on the page that you were... Okay, yeah, perfect. My brain isn't always here. All right. Now let's get kind of a squarish orbit in his head. And again, we're going to come through here with the damn standard. And we're just going to carve right in. Really bringing up that kind of fun, creepy eyebrow thingy. Give him a little bit of a nose here. Okay, perfect. All right, now let's get some coal. Coal is fun. And then we'll give it some color too. What do we got? Oh, we're almost at an hour. Oh, we actually might finish this today. That's always going to be fun. Okay. So let's go ahead and get some coal. So the way we did the teeth is very similar on how I'm going to do coal. So I'm actually going to go ahead and from here, well, first off, on these teeth, let's do ourselves a favor and let's just merge down. Say always yes, merge down. Aha. Let's actually delete this one. We got this one. Yeah, perfect. Let's come through here. Let's merge down. Yeah, okay. Now the ice teeth are in the right place at the right time, which is super good. And just for my OCD, I'm going to auto group this so that I have a nice rainbow of color of teeth. Save this before I hurt myself. And now let's do coal. So coal eyes are the same way we're going to be doing that we ended up just doing the teeth. It's just going to be just slightly different. So I'm going to come down, shrink this down a little bit. And for funsies, all I'm going to do is let's actually do knife curve, which is fun. Now we can have our guy here. Stamp that. Symmetry turned on. I'm actually going to cut tops and the bottom. I'm going to cut this side, and I'm going to cut this side. Yep, just made a cube. Could have probably just started with a cube. Actually, you know what? Why did you do that? Let's go here. Let's actually not do that. Let's cut here, let's cut here, and then let's shrink that down. There we go. Let's do that. Let's do that portion first. Let's go to Dynamesh, polish. Let's actually up the resolution, turn down blur. There we go. And then we're just going to kind of H polish this up a little bit. I'm going to keep this relatively simple. And actually, let's actually clip some edges here and here. Smooth that down. And then do a little bit of asymmetry. And then H polish it back. There we go. Hey, what's up, Icicle? What's the difference between knife and trim tools? Great question. So knife tools actually cut and delete the mesh and rebuild it, while the trim tools will actually just kind of push the mesh down. So for example, if I wanted to cut this section here with a knife curve and I wanted to completely delete this, I'm going to go ahead and just showcase what this mesh looks like. Actually, pay attention to all these different polygroups, because if I cut this off like this, it completely deletes that and it rebuilds and closes the holes of that actual cut. So it's actually cutting it. Whereas the trim tool, if I were to take the trim dynamic, or the clip curve, and I were to come through here, and when I push this, look at this mesh. It's actually taking that and it's shoving it down into it. And you can actually mitigate this by adjusting the intensity, and you can actually clip it down further and further. So you can actually clip in sections, and it's kind of pushing that mesh down. A lot of artists will clip with at 100%, just because it's default and it really is aggressive. But if you want to do a light one, again, if you don't have the Z intensity adjustment at the top, I rock a default ZBrush. Just press the space bar, then Control Shift, and then adjust that intensity, and then that's how you can adjust the intensity of the clip curve. But that's the difference. It's just really pushing the mesh. It's not actually cutting it, where the knife actually cuts it, and then it rebuilds that. Great question, by the way. Super great question. Okay, now we're going to go through here, and we're going to make our coal piece in his eye. Go. Now we want to push this in. Shove that. We've given him some interesting anatomy. right. Let's see here. 1 second. Let me just finish this thought and then I'll get to that. Yeah. I'm just going to go ahead and give just a little bit of those eyelids in there. He's made of snow. But what? Let's just really push the... Yeah, let's just push the anatomy. Why not? Let's see. Sorry to bother you, sir, but may I ask how to make a hole in ZBrush, please? Absolutely. Maybe you can expand on this for me before I demonstrate it, but are you trying to make a hole in cloth? Or are you trying to make a hole in an object? There's a few ways you can go about it. But off the top of my head, live boolean would be the way I always default. But if you have a more specific reason why you would want to make a hole, then that'll help guide me to answer your question with direct results, so you could see exactly how I would approach it. Take the damn standard. I'm going to create an eyelid, kind of a little bit of a lip to it. Even if you're doing human anatomy, you know, the eyelid itself has a bit of a shelf, and also too the eyelid wraps around. Ian. Yes. And then from here, so there's always a bit of a shelf when it comes to eyelids. So, you know, you don't want to create an eyelid that's like non-existent. Like there's a bit of a shelf. Even on the real eye you can see it. So you always want just a little bit of a shelf. It also helps kind of push that shape in a little bit. Go. Pirate right now. Let's give him a second eye. Let's go mirror and weld it. Okay, now we can work on fixing up the rest of it. So to do a hole, how I would recommend it, whether you're doing it on cloth or whether you're doing it to just create a hole, we kind of already did it here, which is the live boolean approach. For me, that's the easiest way to go about it. So if we were to come through here, let's go ahead. We have this guy. Perfect. And let's just... So here's how I would do it. So if you're just going to create a hole, whether it be cloth or whether it be a solid object or not, what I like to do is I do like to work in folders because I feel like it can really organize your cuts. Since I come from the toy world, when I would make any type of articulation or key cuts for 3D print, I find the folder system to be a little bit more simpler for me. So that's the way I'm going to show it. But it's the same method because there is a hierarchy system within ZBrush with these arrows. So anyone who's been using ZBrush before the folder system will be really, really versed in that hierarchy system with the child, parent, etc. And to demonstrate that real fast, if I have these different objects here, so let's say I have this right here, and I'm going to want to make this, you know, cut through. And I'm going to want to have two different cuts. I would have on the first tool that I want to be cut, right, that needs to be on the top. So this is what is going to get cut. So this will be what is cut. And then these two are my cutters. So this is cutter 1 and this is cutter 2. Okay. So now this is why, again, so for the hierarchy system, if I only wanted cutter 1 to cut, I'm going to set this arrow here on the first subtool, which will recognize the 3 subtools here. It's going to recognize itself and everything underneath it. But now check this out. If I want this cutter, only cutter 1, to affect this subtool, and I don't want cutter 2 to affect it, then I actually, on cutter 2, will hit that arrow as well. And now you'll see that cutter 2 is recognizing that the only subtool is itself, nothing below it. Whereas if we look at the top, we have cutter, what is cut is now recognizing itself and cutter 1. So this is the hierarchy system. So if I were to set this to live boolean and then say that this is the cut, even if I say for this one, hey, you know, we'll see, it's not even giving me an option to select it to be cut. It's actually going to ignore this subtool, and it's only going to affect that. But as soon as I let go of that arrow, I'm now able to try to set this to be cut as well, so I can make multiple cuts. So if I wanted this to be ignored, I would just hit that arrow, and then that reestablishes the hierarchy. So this is really cool, but this is where the folder system, in my opinion, kind of comes in and saves the day, because what if I had 100 other subtools, or, you know, I'm working on my project like the snowman here. So I don't want everything to be affected, so I'd have to go through and select that hierarchy system saying these are the things that are going to be cut and these are the things that are not. This is where the folder system comes in, because now I can just throw everything into a folder, right? So from here I could say, all right, I want all this to be in a folder, so I'm going to go ahead and say folder and say cut me. And then now I'm going to throw my two other objects in there. And now what I can do is I can still use that hierarchy system, or I can just hide that object and say, now I have my cut here. And what's cool about, again, about live boolean is I'm able to manipulate either the object that is going to be cut or the cutter itself and say, here is how I'm going to make my holes. So, and of course, then your hole is going to be, from here, your hole is just going to go ahead and be generated, and life is good. That's one way to go about doing it. And then from here, you can shape that mesh however you would like to shape it. You can also bring in a second cutter, turn that back on, and then you can say, all right, let's angle it this way. And now you have these intersecting meshes, and now you're making multiple cuts. So this is pretty crazy, but you get the point. So that's the first way of making a hole. Now, another way to make a hole, this one's a little bit more involved. This is a bit of an older technique. So I'm actually going to go ahead and add a sphere to this and just drop this outside. And I'm going to turn off live boolean because we don't need that right now. I'm going to hide this folder, and now I have this guy here. So this is the way I would actually make holes beforehand. So let's go ahead and just cut this. Actually, you know what? Instead of doing this, let's actually just insert a plane, because I'm just going to make it a plane anyway. So where are you? Plane 3D. Plane 3D. Yes. Plane 3D. Perfect. Thank you. Okay. Turn this off here. Go. Okay. So another way to make a hole without actually using live boolean is to, especially for cloth, if you had single-sided geometry, which is kind of how I do things, what I would do is if I wanted a custom hole, like a tear, I'd mask off the section that there is going to be that tear. Now notice here that I was being very specific, and it's really, really soft. So you do want a little bit of resolution if you want super specific clean cuts. So I'm going to give it just a little bit more resolution and delete lower. Now I'm going to go ahead and make my big old cuts. I'm actually going to go kind of purposeful, something like this. And then I'm going to go ahead and say Control W. And now this is going to go ahead and give me a different poly group. Let's get one that's a little bit brighter, maybe. Yeah, there we go. Now from here, I'm going to go ahead and go to deformation, and I'm going to go ahead and polish by groups to give me a little bit of a cleaner cut. And then I'm going to go ahead and reshape this however I want. I'm just using Move Infinite to do this, but you could shape it with a move brush. You could be very specific, or you could just kind of leave it as such. But polish by features kind of gives you this. And then from here, I'm actually going to go ahead and crease my edges. So I'm going to crease polygroups, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to Zremesh it first. And so I'm going to go to Zremesher, same, and then I'm going to go ahead and hit that. I want to keep groups. There we go. Or I want to keep creases. That's why I creased it. Redo that. There we go. Now I have my cloth with keep creases, which automatically kept my group. And now I have a hole here in which I can delete this. And then, so I can say delete hidden. No, not delete all. Delete hidden. Wrong section. So, boop, modify topology, delete hidden. And now I can use my Z modeler to extrude this part out. And now I have my hole here. So that's the other way to go about it. So to recap, just to go back one more time, You're going to make your mask. You're going to give it a separate poly group. You're then going to shape that group however you want. You're going to go to deformation, and you're going to smooth those groups. And then from there, you're going to crease it, and then you're going to Zremesh with keeping creases, and then you can delete the internal. So go ahead and delete it. There we go, modify topology and delete hidden. And then from there, you can extrude out that mesh, and now you have that hole. So there's a few ways to go about it. You could also, too, when you make this mask, if you wanted to, you make this mask, you could also go to Subtool, Extract, and extract, you know, with some thickness, say Accept, and then from here, right, you can undo this, just swipe that so that you don't have a mask on there, and then you can actually extend this out, right? And then from here, turn on Live Boolean and make that a cutter. And now you're cutting that, and then now you can manipulate that with Live Boolean. So that's the other way you can go about doing it. So quite a few ways, but yeah. Super awesome. What tablet are you using? Have any recommendations on size and all? So I use a wide range of tablets. The one I'm using right now is SenseLab. I'm using a medium tablet. It's not a Cintiq. It's not a screen tablet. It's just a tablet. I actually like it. It's really good. SenseLab is good. I've also used XP Pen, and I've also used Wacom. I have a Wacom Cintiq at home. I like both. I use both. I'm a big guy, 6'4", so I have a nice 24-inch Cintiq, and that works when I want to get super into my work. But I find this to be just as comfortable and super affordable too. So, all right. Up, I hit something. There we go. All right. So hopefully that helped you guys out a little bit with that one. If that made sense, let me know. You are so welcome. All right. Now we're going to just go ahead and continue making our coals. Right. The bottom of that doesn't really matter. Now we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to go to geometry, clay polish, and that same technique we did, we're going to go with we're going to go half that. We're going to go like 10. We did like 20, 25. Let's do 10. And let's go ahead and clay polish that. And again, we're going to soften this edge a little bit. And we're going to do kind of a light gray. So I'm going to fill that object. Okay. And then we're going to invert that mask, and we're going to go with a darker gray. And actually, sometimes it's helpful just to kind of just pick your color and then fill that object. And then actually invert that, and then we're going to add in a little bit of white to this. So we're going to go fill color, light intensity, and then we're going to fill that up, bringing back some of that kind of little look. And that gives us a little bit of a coal look. And then let's rebuild that. And if we wanted to, let's rebuild it without any polish effect to it. Let's see what that gives us. So let's go to geometry, Dynamesh, turn off polish, bring up the resolution a little bit. Yeah, that works out fairly well. That works out fairly well. Not gonna be upset by that. Okay. We're still a little bit rough, but we're doing well. Hello, hello. Welcome in, welcome in. If then I export object that made that hole with live boolean, then does it export with that hole? Yeah, so if you complete the live boolean, and then you'll have your new mesh with the hole, and then now that geometry is there, in which, yes, you'll be able to export that out. So as long as you completed the live boolean, if live boolean is active and you did not commit to the live boolean, you didn't make it, so it didn't officially cut, then you're good to go. And the way to do that, sorry, I might have missed that step, is that when you have the cut me here on this section, is that when you're ready to make your boolean the way you want, you just come here to the cogwheel. You would actually go to then boolean folder, and then that would make your new mesh with your new hole, and then you would save that out. So that's going to the cogwheel and then boolean folder. and then that gives you the object with your holes. Sorry, I might have missed that step, so there we go. Okay, now he's looking a little funky dunky, so let's clean this up. Smooth him down for a little bit. Because we're still Dynameshed, but we can actually get, like, once we're ready, we're going to end up doing, we'll end up rebuilding this mesh. That. Need to push this grin. Let's do that. Let's push this in. Let's go. Let's go more. 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 Get creepy. Get weird. Oh, thanks, man. I try. I just love it. I just love it. But thank you for the kind words, man. I appreciate it. All right. Let's actually... Yeah, that's looking weird, right? That's looking weird. I like weird. If you guys have seen my stuff, it gets kind of interesting sometimes. But let's go with a little bit more of a really grotesque smile. And then actually, too, what we're going to do is we're going to paint. So let's actually fill this object with... So let's grab BPA for paintbrush, and let's fill this with white. And then let's actually come through here, and let's paint this dark black, just to give us a little bit of depth perception. And then we're going to end up rebuilding the mesh to smooth it out. It's looking really rough right now, but this is typically the process I like to do. Really get that pushed. There we go. And then actually with this hat here, so I'm going to fill this color as well. And then let's do this one other thing. So we're actually going to, now give it kind of a band a little bit. So how I'm going to work with that is I'm actually going to, I can either duplicate the hat and I can create the band from here, or I can make it or you can make it attached. I think it'd be best if I duplicated it. So I'm going to Control-Shift-D, and now with this shape here, this is also a super dark color. So here I'm going to go ahead and we're just going to isolate this part, and we're going to delete the rest. So we're going to go to Geometry, Modify Topology, Delete Hidden. You guys see a very big repetition. Yeah, it's very repetitive. Let's actually grab this section here and delete hidden as well. And now I'm going to add in a couple, like 1 or 2 edge loops. So let's do this right here and right about here, just so it gives me kind of the rough idea. And now we're going to hover. Actually, let's just go ahead and do this. Let's delete that. And then let's come through and delete this section right here. Let's just do that. There. And now we're going to come in. We're actually going to shrink it just a little bit. So I'm actually going to hold Control and kind of shrink that in, which can bring it in just a little bit. It's more deflating the object. Now I'm going to hover over here, Q Mesh, and I'm going to bring in a couple strips. And this is just going to give me my kind of top hat vibe. And we'll add a couple edge loops to support this loops. You can see here, now that's going to give me that kind of wrapping around. And traditionally, I make them red because it's holiday time. So red it is. Yeah, weird is great, right? How to color an object or mesh in ZBrush. Awesome, saying. So actually, I just literally did it, so I can go right back over that. But basically, to color an object in ZBrush, so every object in ZBrush starts off with no material or color like dedicated to it. So it's not selected in any way, which means that like here, I can actually come through, and in this palette over here on the left-hand side, I have the ability to just start selecting colors from the color wheel. The other thing that's really cool is that if I wanted to take color samples from anywhere here on the actual in the actual viewport, I can actually just hover over something and hit C, like an object. If like, let's say if I had multiple subtools here and I'm like, ooh, I really like the color, like I like this blue, hover over this blue, hit C, that's going to dedicate that. However, if you wanted to select colors from outside of ZBrush, a way you can do that is go to Z Plugin, Z Color, and Z Color is going to give you this nice little menu right here. And what you could do is you can actually pick your primary or secondary colors. You can go ahead and start selecting stuff that is actually like, this is actually the Twitch purple that's off over on my second monitor. And then I can go ahead and say set color, and then I can actually close that down, and that will actually pick that color. From there, I can come on up to color and fill object. Now you do want to note, by default, if I hit color fill object, it's going to go ahead and try to fill just the color, not the material. But up here at the top, you have your mRGB, standing for material and RGB color palette. You have RGB, and then you have material as separate buttons. So I would select RGB typically, go to color, and then fill object. And now I have this that is now dedicated to purple. And you'll know that this happens because if you look over at my subtool, there's a little paintbrush right here. Now, when I haven't filled a color, that paintbrush is actually hidden by default. But if I were to come over to, again, color and fill object, if you come right back over, you'll notice that that paintbrush is now active. What that paintbrush is telling me is that there's a color and or material that has been applied to that specific subtool, and that is always going to show on while that paintbrush is available. If I want to hide the color and set it back, but not actually like, you know, if I want to hide the color, but I don't actually want to get rid of it, I can just click that paintbrush, and now I can select a different color. But if I turn that brush back on, watch what happens to this yellow. It goes back to the purple because that's what's dedicated to that subtool. So that would be the way to go about doing it. Now, a little bonus, a little tip is that sometimes you're working with objects with really dark colors and you would like to see the color, but you would like to see the model clearly. What you can do from there is if you go up to render, there is this slider, it's been here for a while, called fade opacity. And now if I start to drag this, I can actually start to hide the color completely from my view of ZBrush and only see the underlying mesh. So I can actually set this to, let's say, 19, and now I'm seeing the color and I'm seeing the model, but I'm seeing a faded version of that color. This is helpful when you're trying to look at model, like I said, with a really dark color on it and you still want to see the color. Or in some cases, if you want to like actually do a character sheet where you're like, okay, yeah, great, I want to show the character with different sides, and now I want to showcase this without any color. That's when you can just come up here and you can slide that, and then you can get the non-color version, so you can screen grab that. So it was super handy, super helpful, and you can even change that to a default color. So really cool stuff. You're very welcome. You're very welcome, Leonard. I look a little bit like Josh the Cook from Chan. I'll take it. I'll take it. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're actually going to come here, and I'm going to turn this red. So to override a color, I'm going to go to my paintbrush. My color is set to RGB, or 100% intensity. I'm going to fill this back to red. And I'm going to do the same thing with my scarf. I'm going to fill my color with my scarf. Okay. Now what I am going to do is, before we go too much further, let's actually finalize the scarf bit. So I'm actually going to turn this on here, and I'm going to duplicate this bottom one. So Control-Shift-D. And the reason why I'm going to do that is because now I'm going to just get a bit of this mesh. Actually, instead of doing it that way, let's do this. Let's go to polygroups and group by normals, and we're going to select, get rid of these random guys down here. I don't want, stop it. I want this one. There we go. Okay, great. Okay, I just want this shell right here. Another easy way I could have done this is just with ZModeler. Instead of fighting myself that way, I could have just come here, QMesh, start dragging this out, hit Control, and that's going to separate out a simple mesh. That's going to actually give me a different mesh. I could have just selected that and go to Geometry and delete Hidden. And now there we go. We have that part, which is always fun. Okay, so with that same method, actually what I want to do is I actually just want to highlight a part of it where I can fold it. So I can do something like that, drag this out, hit this guy. Actually, we'd make this a different poly group too, just all together. Something like that. Now come through here, QMesh, tap Alt a bunch of times, give it a different poly group. There we go. And then we can go ahead and delete Hidden. And the reason why I did that was because now I want to rotate this around. And we're going to, he's a guy who tucks in his scarf. That's all, plain and simple. He tucks his scarf in, so we're going to go ahead and do this. Just like such. And I'm actually going to go ahead and just position this a little bit more. There we go. All right, that's going to give me kind of the view that I want. Let's save this. If we don't finish this today, because we only got half an hour, I will be finishing it today, and then we'll go from there. Polygroups are amazing. They really are awesome, aren't they? May I ask one question? Absolutely. Is there a way to opacity the object like Photoshop opacity? Is there a way to do? Okay, yeah, kind of. We have transparency between objects. So the way I like to do it, the way I'm most familiar is you hit transparency and that gives you this right here, and then you can look through your object. Ghost is on by default, but you can actually turn off Ghost and you can actually just have it kind of transparent, and so you could see the objects underneath it. It's always going to highlight the selected one, and everything else will be transparent. So whatever subtool you're on, that's always going to have it. Most of the time, I'll just rock it like this because I'm trying to get very specific. I rarely have Ghost off. But yeah, that's about how we do it. I rarely have Ghost off. I actually like it with Ghost on. And I think you can adjust that. But I don't remember how. If you could, I don't remember how. So I'm going to say never mind. But hopefully that answers your question. Okay, let's fix this head because this head's, I mean, look at this head. Look at this head. It's not a happy head. It's a little gross. It's a little gross. We need to clean it up. So let's fix a few things. First things first, we're going to push this form a little bit on the smile line. Yeah, we are. And I'm actually going to mask this section off here and kind of push this up a little bit. Rebuild that. There we go. Really get that smile looking funky. Yes. And then here, I kind of want to, when people smile, they have this kind of like tendency to really have some really crazy eyes. Let's go that route. The other thing too is that actually this coal is a little squared. So we actually want the geometry to kind of follow that. So I'm actually going to pull this out and make sure that that's kind of square. I can push that in, come here, and then we're going to Zremesh this. No, your English is perfectly well. Is there a way to change it from 0 to 100%? I don't remember. Is there a way to? Oh, that's the way. I don't remember that, to be honest with you. Have to look that up. For some reason, I thought there was, but I can't remember now. One second. Let me see something real quick. Let me see. It's okay. Okay. Yeah. All right. That's what I thought. Okay. Let me see real quick. Let me see if this is it. Pretty sure this is it here. I'm gonna go ahead and go to opacity. Let me say this real fast before I start breaking stuff. I have a tendency to do that. I'm gonna go to preferences, open this up, and then from here, yes. Okay, there it is. All right, so if you go to preferences, you go to draw, you actually have transparent depth and opacity, front opacity and back opacity, and then you have your kind of back panorama. And then you have the ability to actually play with it, like with even the different colors. Like we make it green here. So you actually have the potential of adjusting it here under the transparent depth. So you can make it super transparent, or you can make it almost non-existent. Kind of gives it a little bit flat, but you're controlling the front and the back opacity for it. So yes, you can. I was glad I was right. I just couldn't remember where that's at. So you'd want to play with this and give you a little bit more control. And I believe if you turn the ghost off, yeah, if you turn the ghost off, then you can adjust that back and front opacity however you would like. So if you like it to have kind of a back opacity and a front adjustment, you can go that route. And then with ghost on, it gives you the color adjustment that you can play with. So you can bounce between the two, kind of get an effect that you want. That would be the only way that you can adjust that. But no, you're not bothering me at all. That's actually what I'm here for, guys. And I love it. And of course, too, if you break something, you can always just kind of restore. And then you're good to go. Great questions, guys. Seriously. Multiple colors on a single object or mesh? Absolutely, yeah. So it's multiple colors on a single object, like this guy right here. Notice I just have black and I have white. By default, it would be just the one solid color, right? But if you wanted to have multiple colors, you can either hide an object and then paint this section with the fill. So I can actually say, like, I want that to be black, and then the hidden objects won't get painted, and now that stays white. Or what I did here was you just grab a paintbrush. So B, P, and A, which is our default paintbrush. Although every brush in ZBrush can have paint attached to it, you just have to turn RGB on. So let's say like clay buildup, if I wanted to have color applied as I was painting and sculpting, I can just turn on RGB, and now I'm sculpting and I'm painting, which that is a really bad color to showcase that. So let's go to red. And then if I actually increase, so you can see I'm actually sculpting and I'm painting at the same time. And I can adjust by holding the space bar. I can adjust the RGB intensity and the Z intensity, so you can actually get some gradiency as well. So you can paint and sculpt at the same time. But if you just want to paint, BPA, B for brush, P for paint, and A for the actual paint, you can just paint by default because it's just the RGB intensity. And with your pressure sensitivity, you can get nice light paint, and then you can also get really dark by pressing harder. You can also go to here on your stroke and say that you want a color spray with an alpha, and then you can be painting very much like an airbrush at that point, where you can get a nice bold color and you can kind of airbrush your paint how you would like to have it. So quite a few ways to do that, but once you apply the paint, usually what I do is I fill my object with a base color. In this case, it was white. I filled it with a base color, and then from there I went ahead and started painting on top of it, and that's about all you really need to do from there. And then at that, it's poly paint, and then a lot of programs now accept poly paint as the solution, like Cinema 4D, for example. Even Blender has poly paint recognitions called vertex color. So if you bring your model from ZBrush into another application, you'd actually be able to then just bring the poly paint with you. So you're not wasting your time painting with poly paint, which is nice. Okay. Hopefully that answered your question. Great stuff. That's how you get multiple colors on your multiple object or subtool. All right, we got, that's not too bad, actually. The progress is pretty cool. So let's actually fix our mesh here because, you know. Oh, you know what? His nose is still really weird. Let's before we fix his face, let's fix his nose. I was like, what is wrong with his face? Well, we didn't really give him a nose. Yeah, dingus, you didn't give him a nose. Give him a nose. There you go. Rebuild that. There we go. There we go. We'll get somewhat of a proper nose, too. A little bit of an anatomical correct nose. Not much, but a little bit. There we go. Really just shoved it into his face. Again, we're actually going to scale that down, and then I'm going to push that up. Oops, wrong one. Go. That up a little bit. Okay. Now from here, let's actually make this look a little bit more like a carrot. So I'm going to subdivide this a few times. And then we actually need this to be kind of an orangish color, right? I actually didn't need to subdivide that if I didn't want to. I could just hit D for dynamic and just have it smooth if we're not ready to subdivide. So I'm going to go ahead and fill that object. Now my RGB is pretty low, so let's actually make sure that the intensity is at 100%. Color, fill object, get that nice kind of orangish color. And now with here, what I'm also going to do is taking a look at this nose. I'm going to rebuild some of this mesh a little bit. It's a little torn, so let's actually come here with our Z modeler and add a couple edge loops just to give it a little bit more support. There we go. And now I'm going to go ahead and subdivide, actual subdivide. Actually, no, hold on, I lied to you. Before we do that, let's actually group by normals. So I'm going to go to deformation, nope, polygroups, group by normals. I'm going to select this guy right here. Yeah, good job, Ian, good job. You know what I'm going to do? Just select this section here, invert that. There you go. Good job. Kind of pull this out a little bit. Delete that edge loop. Now we're going to cause some rounding, some multiple with elevation. Give it a little bit of a rounded edge. Here, let's go. Insert, single. There we go. That's a little bit better. Perfect. All right, now we can accept that and say dynamic and apply. Okay. Now we can rebuild this face. Appreciate it. What is the hotkey to hide the masking? Not the mesh, but the masking, please and thank you. Absolutely, it is Control H. So if you have a mask on here, Control H hides that, but you still won't be able to do that. Control H again brings it back. All right, let's go ahead and rebuild this face because it's a little rough right now, right? So let's come through here and let's start rebuilding this area. I don't care about geometry whatsoever for this. It's just going to be 3D printed. So I'm going to come up here to the top. I'm going to go Control and tap this little icon right here. Okay, and then what we're going to do is save it. Saving it is key. And now with geometry, we're going to come through here with Zremesher. Now, something I like to do is I would like to kind of have a little bit of control on some stuff. So I'm going to do an initial Z-remesh here. So I'm just going to pick kind of a high target like 50, and then I'm going to go ahead and Z-remesh. What this is going to do is it's going to Z-remesh at a really high state. But the reason for that is because I want to actually have it knocked down a little bit, but then I'm going to use Z-remesher guides to kind of control the way it's going to Z-remesh on the next take. So here, that's still pretty low, and I like that. That's neat. So now we're going to go B, Z, and then we're going to get Z-remesher guide. And then what I'm going to do is actually come on up over here, curve strength, and kick that up to like 72. It's defaulted at 50, but it does help. And now I'm going to go ahead and just say like, okay, I kind of want it to loop around like this if possible. And let's actually drop the brush size a little bit. I would like this to come around like this. Would like this to come around here. And if I can, I would like this to wrap this way. Yeah, that should be good. That's fine. And I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to drop the size down to, let's say, 20. And now it's going to take into account where those edges, where those curves are, and then kind of rebuild along that line, just so that I have a little bit of control, but I'm not going to sit here and retopo it. So now you can see that the edge loops are starting to head around in that direction and getting a little bit of stretching, but if I just go shift, relax, smooth, yeah, I got a couple poles there, and that's fine. So let's actually go same, let's remesh that, and let's see if it can keep kind of the same process, but clean up those quads a little bit. Let's try it one more time. Actually, let's actually see if we can keep that one continuous loop. That would be cool. And then have this come down here like that. That grants me. Yeah, there you go. That's a little bit better. A little bit of crunchiness here, but that's okay. Nothing I can't deal with. So now I'm going to go ahead and subdivide a couple times. And now we're going to go to our subtool, project, and project history. And that's going to project our paint and our sculpt. But now we can work with subdivisions. So now I can come through here and start doing a cleanup. So on the first subdivision, I'm going to go ahead and do like a relax smooth. I'm not going to smooth any of the color. It's not necessary. So we'll turn that off. Kind of just nice, relaxed, smooth here, just a little bit. Step it up. And now I'm going to come through. Now I can make some decent sculpting changes. So let's actually increase that resolution. Let's come through here. Let's actually go to stroke. Let's turn on lazy mouse and up that elevation. Now, something I'm going to do real quick, because that looks a little weird to me, real fast, is actually let's push this back a little bit. There we go. And I'm going to actually make a sculptural change. I'm going to push up this eyebrow a little bit. Let's actually drop subdivision here. Let's smooth that down. Trim dynamic for this next part. I'm gonna make his eyebrows just a little bit more aggressive. we go. It's already 4:50 a.m. in Korea. Nice. Time flies and I start watching movies and watching your live streams. Thanks, man. Well, awesome, dude. Thank you for waking up so early to hang out with me. I really appreciate that. That's really awesome. Hopefully you're having a good time. That's always nice, right? All right. Okay. Yeah, we only have a couple more minutes. So here's the plan. The plan is I'm going to finish this, and then I will get this out to... I'll make a post to push this out. So if you are not following me, you can definitely do so here, but also to just like look up IRSculpts. I'm everywhere. That username will get you everything you need, but then also too, I have that Discord where I'm going to be placing that, so feel free to pop in and say hi. Okay. Okay, this is a pretty high damn standard. All right, let's fix his eye as I just broke it. So let's make sure it's wrapping around. Also, too, we're going to be doing a stream on the 14th. Slightly different than me making something. So if you are interested in some appreciation art stuff, we'll be taking a look at some fun stuff. We'll be making an announcement today, so keep an eye out for that. Because it's fun. The end of the year, gonna have some nice, just fun, relaxing streams. All right. Okay, cool. Let's do something real quick. Let's wrap up something real fast here. So I have these guys right here. Let's make them feel a little bit more... Make them feel a little bit more at home here. So what I'm thinking... How do I want to do this? Okay. Let's go with the possibility of beveling. This makes sense. No, this is not making sense. Okay, let's do this instead. Let's do polygroups, group by normals. Again, we're just going to mark that one like such. I'm going to go through delete hidden. So geometry, modify topology, delete hidden. Definitely think I'm doing things the long way here, but it'll make sense in a minute. I'm trying to think of a way to automate this without going back to center. I could have done this with radial symmetry, but instead where's that one? Okay, that's great. Let's come here like this. You know what would make life easier is if I just do a center line here, like such. And I do a center line here. And I select just this guy right there. Make that different, and I make these different. There we go. Now, what I'm going to do, yeah, we're going to save it. There we go. Kind of went the long way for this, but that's okay. I'm going to delete that line. And then from here, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to QMesh everything. So I'll bring this up. It's like this. Bring this up one more time, just giving me a little bit of a thickness. Let's see, hold on. Let's bring this one up and let's touch that. Then let's... That. Does this do what I want it to do? Believe it does. I'm going to mask this. Now I'm going to do something that I think is really cool. I want there to be a constant edge loop of support, so I'm going to go slice curve. So with this being masked off, so if I mask this whole thing off, and I actually cut anywhere with the slice curve, it's going to drop a edge loop, and it's going to do internal and external at the same time. So now I can actually cut purposeful edge loops right where I want them to be. And that's going to give me something like this. That's what I want. Something like such. And then we're just going to go ahead and risk it for a biscuit. We're going to go to delete hidden, and now I'm just going to hit close holes. And close holes with that red point right there. Yeah, there you go. That's going to just give me a little bit of flair. Delete this one. Take this guy right here. Maybe I'll bring this up. Expand this a little bit. Come through here. Actually taper it down just a little bit. So before I taper it, let's do this. Let's cut all the way through. Flail that out just a bit. It's a little bit of puffiness. Now I'm going to Control-Shift-D. I'll duplicate this one. Come on up. Maybe shrink that down. Kind of do that little wrap again. Here. It's giving me a little bit of something. And I'll figure out the next part. Oh, thanks, man. Absolutely. I try to answer every question as best I can. Okay, we're kind of coming into an end of this. But where did I do with that? What did I do? Where did I go? There it goes. Okay. We're kind of coming into an end of the stream. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to be finishing this. So hopefully you guys are liking what's happening. But this is going to be an ornament. We'll end up putting a little bit of a hook on the top of his head. But before we finalize this, what I will do is let's give it some asymmetry. So let's actually select these guys right here. Kind of bring this here. Maybe pull that back a little bit. I don't like things to be super symmetrical, especially when we're just doing a bust, right? Like, so here it's better in my opinion to kind of go nuts with it. There we go. And then with this head here, let's actually just take the move infinite and just kind of push that down a little bit. There we go. Yeah, that's cool. And then real quick for snow, I do want some snow effect. Let's do that before we go. This is how I would actually go about doing it. But I do want to clean it up a little bit. But if I was to do any type of like snow effect on him, honestly, the easiest approach I would take is actually just going with the spray and the Alpha 7. And just kind of giving him a little bit of very simple snow, like bumpy effect. And then maybe smoothing it down because I wanted it to be kind of icy. So I come through here, adding positive and negative little cuts, and then I would do smooth peaks. Yep, say that's totally fine. And then here I would like lower this down and do some smooth peaks. Let's see if that gave me the effect that I want. Depends on what you're trying to go for ultimately. This might work out kind of well, or kind of would look a little weird. Actually, that's not too bad. So really just a way to go about it. You're just making imperfections and trying to have something look a little interesting if you wanted to. The smooth peaks helps because at least keeps some of those divots and such in it. All right. Hey, awesome. You are so welcome. It's 1:30 a.m. in India. Oh, man. Good night. Have a great one. Yeah, get some sleep. All right. There we go. All right. I think that's kind of pretty much... wrap it. I'm actually going to do some form stuff and kind of bring up some of his forms a little bit. We'll clean this up just a little bit. There's a little bit of roughness to this, but ultimately, you know, we'll give him like a little bit of some crow's feet here. Crow's feet are always cool because they I feel like it really brings a character to life. It's just a happy, misunderstood snowman. Here, let's actually bring this up a little bit of kind of work on that expression a little bit. And then I'm actually going to use the damn standard one more time. There we go. Not that he really has any fat pads, but, you know, it's the illusion of it. Yeah, that should be fine. And then, actually, this is a little... Let's pull this forward a little bit. This music's been bumping today. Appreciate that. Let's go here real quick. Yes, I will. I will be figuring out how to make it for download, absolutely. And I'll see if we'll get a link out as soon as possible. For sure, 100%, I will be posting it here. So there's the link. That's where I will 100% be posting it. It'll be for free, so you don't have to worry about it. No charge on this one. You like that? No charge on this one. You like that? But I'll see. Once we get a print going, get it up on the tree. We'll take some photos and we'll get it out. Making this super fun. I thought that'd be really cool. Just adjust this real quick. I'm gonna push that in, and then let's pull that back out. All right. That is going to be it for the day. So we did a kind of weird looking cool snowman. I'm digging them. Hopefully you guys are as well. And I'm actually going to be adding just a little bit of detail to some of these other things. Like, for example, some cloth detail. So we'll add in just a little bit of structure here. Give us some subdivisions. And then honestly, like, I'm just going to cloth detail. Really simple. I'm just going to go ahead and put this at dots. Add this alpha. And, yep. Do something like this where we'll do like a little bit of a cut. Smooth that down a little bit. Make it a little bit bigger. Come through here. Just a little bit of TLC. Doesn't have to be super crazy. There you go. Something like that. Perfect. And this one, let's actually just subdivide a few times. Make that final. There we go. And this is the main concept. We'll get, you know, I really don't. I'm gonna fix this one. I'll fix this one, and where am I gonna put this? That's a great question, Ian. You are going to put that. Gotta make sure it welds. There, wolf. Where, wolf? There is a wolf. This is that moment where I'm like, where am I gonna place this thing? Okay, there we go. We'll make that thick, and we'll add a little top for it to hang on a tree. Does that hat seem a little big? Does this hat seem a little big? Maybe just a little bit. Scale it down just a little bit. Just a little bit. Okay, cool. There we go. Me being OCD now. So thank you guys so much. Like I said, I'll finish cleaning it up. He's cool. I like him. Hopefully you guys do too. Hey, I didn't take my 3 p.m. nap to watch. I deserve some recognition, you know. Congratulations. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, man. I appreciate it. I know your body appreciates it too, bringing in that ZBrush knowledge. But real quick, before I leave, I just wanted to point out one more time that we now have a new Getting Started series that is for ZBrush, and a special shout out to Anna Carolina, because Anna Carolina came on and she recorded a bunch of videos for Maxon, and then we went over it together. This has been a long project in the making, and I just wanted to say thank you, Anna. This is super awesome. It's now up, so if you guys would like to go deeper into learning ZBrush, everything that's covered here, there's 27 videos. They're very short, but they cover straight to the point things that you need. So if you want to be able to like come through here, it's on Cineversity and it's live now, so go check it out. There's also there's also a transcript, so you can come through and read what is being said. So if you pick like Gizmo here, you can see here she's actually covering, and you can kind of come through and read what's happening, which is always really, really nice. So definitely take a peek at this, because this is super cool and something that we've been working on, and now it is available. So have fun, crack at it, and I'll always be sharing it more and more and more. So that is it. Thank you guys so much, and I will catch all of you later. Bye for now. Bye, guys. Wait, actually, Kirkland, if you're still here, I actually demonstrated how to make the teeth earlier. Scrub back, and you'll be able to see how I made these teeth right here. So anyway, I just read your question, saw it, I didn't want to ignore it. Scrub back, I made these teeth in here. Super, super cool. All right, that is it. I'll catch you guys later. Bye, 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 bye.